So I've hit the button, and in about 7 seconds, we should see it pop up on YouTube. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our live stream. We should now be going out live on YouTube, and I'm now going to bring our guests back into the studio to have a chat with us this evening. We welcome back Stuart, we welcome back Becky, Karis, Jan, and Will. Welcome to the stream. Now, hopefully, if you've watched that sort of between StreamYard and YouTube, you should sort of get a feel for how that could work as an opening. And we are now live. Well, oh, 1 second. I can unmute you here.
Sorry, I've got to sort something out.
There we go.
That countdown thing from 30 works quite well. I'm guessing, is it difficult to put custom music?
You could actually, that video clip, you don't have to use that one. That's just one that's preloaded into StreamYard. If you wanted to design your own branded one with a 30-second countdown on there, I just add it in. I can upload that video into StreamYard and we play that one instead.
In a bit.
Because I'm guessing it seems to make sense to use music from the project rather than stock music.
Absolutely, yeah. But the idea of doing a countdown, of transitioning from that into a countdown rather than straight into the broadcast, it just alerts everybody as well, you know, oh, it's 30 seconds, quickly sit down, you know, we're ready to go, and then it transitions into it. And again, what I might like to do at this point is just any comments on things like the branding. These have been color matched so that they match the pink and the gray and the white, and we can just create these for any of the guests that are coming on. We can quite easily just create one of these. Or the other option as well is when you type your display name, when you joined the StreamYard link, you will have had to type in your name, how you want it to be displayed on the screen. So there's always the option of just popping those back on screen.
I really like the branding. I guess I just interested to hear from everyone else if it feels a bit corporate or formal for the sort of event we're going for. I mean, I thought it looked really nice, but you know, is that the right sort of tone?
I agree. It looks nice. Isn't it one of the things that we wanted the young people to decide, the kind of design? Is it something that can be considered in the remaining session with the group of young people that we're working with?
Yeah.
I mean, they might need some options rather than a blank sheet of paper kind of thing. And one of the options might be the OL corporate colours. But there may be other colours. Will, I'm looking to you in terms of some of the designs from the video of the pieces that occur to you might serve also as the branding or the colour scheme for that kind of thing. It just gives them a little bit more of a stake in the design of it, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, sorry, go on, James.
I was just going to say the color schemes and things can be changed very easily. So if you notice where your names are being displayed in the bottom corner of each of your tiles, there's pink and grey, and that's just been color matched to that particular logo file. So it would be very easy to pick a different color scheme and just rebrand all of these name cards and things like that. It's all done automatically. And similarly, these sort of graphics here, the fancier ones, it'd be quite easy to just change the color of those and pop them back into StreamYard.
And is that something that we have to set everything as the one theme throughout, James, or is that something, say, when we're in Durham, they could have something that's slightly different that kind of picks up on the visuals from their video?
We could have different assets set up. So when we're displaying the logo in the top right-hand corner, for example, if we had the logo of that particular music hub, we could display the Orchestras Live logo, but we could also have it next to the hub logo. So we could create that as something. We could maybe have something in the top right-hand screen and something in the bottom right-hand screen. So whilst each video is playing, you know, we could do some, or while each one's about to be introduced, presumably each hub has a dedicated section, you know, for their project. And whilst the presenter is talking about their project, we can have that hub logo on the screen as well as the OL logo.
Can you do? Can you mess around with transparency and so you could potentially have like more like a watermark?
Right. Just setting up the next thing here. Running through my notes. Opening sequence. We've done opening sequence. YouTube comments. I know that was something that was quite key. Is that sort of interaction. If you go to your YouTube device, at the bottom of the, there we go, at the bottom of the screen, there's an option to put a message or some sort of post. Now, if you could post something, excellent. So what I can then do is I can see Becky's comment because that's been pulled into the StreamYard studio via YouTube, and I can decide to display that comment. And so the presenter could read some of those. Do you have access to those comments in the StreamYard screen that you're looking at? Can you see those coming in? Great. Okay. So again, our presenter, James, it's James, isn't it, who's presenting, can see all of these coming in. And if he decides, I can follow him. So if he decides, oh, here we go, we've got a message here from Becky West. She says, hello, everyone, nice evening. I can quickly just go to that comment and pop it up on screen. So I can take my lead from him if he's going to do a bit of a segment where he reads out some of the comments.
Will James be able to easily see the comments, or is it just as I've got them up on the right-hand side of my screen? So is that where we'd have to get him to, you know, have those up? It's just in terms of, like, if we're going to pull them up on screen, we might want to do, like, behind the scenes, I might want to do some highlighting and say, actually, can we want to pick this one out and this one out.
But James, when James is presenting, he'll be able to see exactly what we're seeing now, right? This sort of setup. But I guess what you could do is, Becky, you could always put in the private chat to James, who's here now, you know, saying, can we pull up this comment? And James Redwood could just look at this screen and wait, and he could say, we're going to get a comment through. I mean, it depends how much warning he's happy to have, because he could look in the private chat, or you know, he could just focus on the screen itself and see that message pop up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one where you could certainly ask James, the presenter, to just basically follow what he's seeing on screen. So if he sees this message pop up, we've got a message there from Will Roberts. This is from YouTube. You know, it's he could just follow the messages that are going up. It probably needs to be as simple as possible. Either he leads us, so he reads a comment, we find it and pop it up on screen, or we pop the comments that we want, or you pop the comments that you want on screen, and he reads them out.
I'm just thinking in terms of his delivery, him following us might well be easier, because then he's not having to panic about reading and talking at the same time too much.
Exactly. It could be quite off-putting when you're sort of scrolling through and thinking, which ones do I read? And what that can do is, when you're trying to concentrate on scrolling through the messages, is that leads maybe to a bit of an awkward pause or a couple of seconds of dead air So it would be better maybe if we're prompting him with the messages to read out, and he just sees them on screen and reads it.
And that's something that can be built into the script, I guess.
Very much so.
So if James knows that he's gonna do you know, a couple of minutes of reaction of chat, and then he knows that after he finishes that, we're going to be putting some messages up on the screen, and then it's up to him to kind of interact with them a little bit and say, oh, nice to hear from so and so from Norfolk, or, you know, whatever. Yeah,
exactly right. Yeah, just build 2 minutes into there to say, right, we're going to read some messages out, and we can, you know, we'll start popping the messages up there. And the beauty is that I can scroll through them, so I can go from one message directly to another message, directly to another message. And when we decide that we don't want to do any more messages, he'll see that disappear, and that then becomes a visual cue to then move on with the next segment.
James, in terms of the messages, is there some flexibility in terms of showing the avatar of whoever's posting the comment? Just because obviously that's one thing we can't control, is what avatar they're using, or what profile picture they're using, and it could be, I'm sure it's not, but you know, there could be something inappropriate as they're using.
Very good question. I don't know the answer to that one. We will have to. I've just had a quick look on some of the options that I've got. We can block users, certainly, and the beauty is, I suppose, even if we can't block their avatar, what we can see in the preview that I'm looking at the moment, I can see all their avatars before they go up onto screen. So if there was an inappropriate avatar or something that is just not relevant, not only can I choose not to put it on screen, there's an option at my end as well to also block that user, so we can then filter them out of the chat, so we don't risk, you know, putting something up there that's inappropriate. So my instincts, just looking at it, Will, is that we can't remove the avatars, but we can see them, so we can choose whether or not it's appropriate to put it on screen.
What are you doing, Caris?
Testing the emojis.
Oh.
There was specific feedback that I read somewhere about young people wanting to engage with emojis, so I was just seeing what was out there.
Is there a frog emoji? This is the big thing. Every participant in Durham will be looking for a frog.
There
is a frog emoji. Yeah, there's definitely a frog emoji. Yeah. Now, what I've also popped in ahead of today was something else. I've popped some of the old Lorem Ipsum Latin text in to just show you what it looks like as a banner. So we have a ticker tape option for longer messages.
It's like when you have the football scores rolling across the bottom of the sports screen.
Exactly right. Yeah, we could have the live scores coming in from the European Championships, live updates of that evening's matches. Yeah.
So if we get a stream of messages, James, can that go in the ticker tape? Or does it have to be, or is that too complicated?
No, it's a bit complicated. We would then have to sort of copy and paste out of the messages that have been posted and into the banners. It would probably be more suited, the ticker tape is more suited to perhaps longer messages that you might want to communicate about, you know, forthcoming projects, anything that you're working on next year, what you would maybe like the young people to do by way of follow-up, you know, interaction. You know, if you've got an email address that you wanted to give out to say, we'd love to hear from you, we'd love to hear your ideas for next year's project, why don't you get in touch? It's all that sort of stuff that I think you could potentially put across the bottom of the screen. And the most obvious time to do that is potentially during the linking segments with the presenter. You'd have the presenter on screen, with the ticker tape running across the bottom.
But it could be calls to action in terms of, you know, encouraging people to share the event and hashtags and that kind of stuff, I guess, too.
Yeah, definitely. definitely. Something I've managed to do very quickly before we logged into this meeting, I've set up a test on I quickly set up a Wix website yesterday using my business domain name, and so nobody can find it, and I was able to embed the YouTube link into that website. So again, this was something that we talked about last week about having this YouTube stream going out onto the Orchestras Live website. So anybody who maybe has lost the link or can't find it, at the very least could go there and then navigate to YouTube from that video. If you pick up your YouTube device, if you can go to just a browser, and if you sort of give me a thumbs up when you've got a browser window in front of you, the domain name is www. And it's the word 19, NINETEEN 52, the number's 52.co.uk. So 1952.co.uk. And if you go there, it's very basic, but you should see a page and you should see a YouTube video. And if you tap play on there, you'll see that live stream. So depending on what platform the Orchestras Live website is built on, I'd be very surprised if it doesn't have the capability to embed a simple YouTube link in. And that wasn't complicated.
Yeah,
I didn't have to generate a long embed code. It was literally just the share code that you get from YouTube.
And that's available, is it, James, as soon as you basically as soon as you schedule the live, you then have the option to embed that. Yeah.
Correct.
So I think,
yeah,
we had a bit of a conversation about it earlier, and I think up to possibly the day of the event, we'll be encouraging people to, book their ticket, etc. But perhaps from the day of, we will just quietly embed this on the website, and then when it gets to the point that bookings not going to happen, then we can post on our social media and right before the event as well, and say join us here. So that people can get to it.
Exactly. And when I created the YouTube live broadcast, so when I scheduled it, there's an option to upload a thumbnail image, which is what everybody saw on screen before we actually went live with the broadcast. So that broadcast, we can create that particular, it's just a JPEG, so we can just create whatever image you would want on there, and that can go up as early as you want to. You could actually have the YouTube video scheduled, a week or a couple of weeks ahead. Have a thumbnail that has the date and the time exactly when that's all happening, so that it's it's fully branded in whatever way you would like it. I'm just ticking these off on my list as I go through them. Right, there we go. YouTube comments, right. So we've done comments. We've tested the comments working. Presenter and guest camera angles. Transition. Right, what we need to do now is we need to get to the nitty gritty, which is the video side of things. So what I've got at the moment, let me go back to my branding. I've got a couple of ways that I can play video from here. I'm going to go with this one first of all. So I'm the presenter, I'm speaking down the camera, and I'm going to say, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. Here's our first video.
Have there been any surprising outcomes so far?
I mean, I don't think there have been many outcomes which aren't surprising, to be honest. I feel like I'm slightly baffled.
Right, let's pop everybody back in. Right, I don't know about everybody else there, but when I played that video, I could hear them clearly, but for some reason the mouths weren't moving. Is that the same for everybody there? Right. So that was the first way of playing it. I'm going to try this way here now. This is the way that I think is going to be a bit better. This is where we've actually uploaded the clip into StreamYard.
Have there been any surprising outcomes so far?
I mean, I don't think there have been many outcomes which aren't surprising, to be honest. I feel like I'm slightly baffled that I didn't look ahead into the future and imagine the project ending up like this. And at the same time, of course, there's no way we could have known, because until we started delivery.
Could everybody see and hear that one nice and clearly?
Really good.
Yeah, excellent. Okay. And sorry, I was watching StreamYard then. Did anybody have their eye on YouTube to make sure that it was going out okay there as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's just weird with the time delay, but yes, it was going out on there.
Great. Okay. I've got another one set up here, and the way that I've just played that video, the reason it's a better way is that it automatically mutes everybody that may be on screen at that time. So the likelihood is it's going to just be the presenter on their own in this sort of view. But for example, if it was a group of people or the presenter and one guest, when you select the video, it will automatically mute them and go full screen with the video. So
to begin.
Words. Sonnets. Landscape.
And again, that seemed to be working okay. I checked YouTube that time as well. Okay for everybody else? Okay, lovely. So, a question that I've got about the videos, do we have any inkling at the moment as to how long the videos will be? Because there may be a time limit on the videos on StreamYard.
And the song's running about 5 minutes, something like that. Is that?
Yeah, I'll just have a quick look for what we think the longest will be.
I think the longest one is 7.5. It's less than 8, I think, the longest one.
Yeah, we've definitely got a 7.5 in there.
Okay, this is all good because I've looked into it, and the limit on playing it in the way that I've just done is 10 minutes. So as long as none of the videos exceed 10 minutes, we are good to go in that method. It just has to be fairly compressed as a video file will, and it has to be MP4. You know, if we started to get through files that were sort of 700 and 800 meg, then we would start running the risk of streaming issues and things like that. But if we're talking about sort of 5, 6, 7 minute videos, if we can get, I think that one, the Encountering Wordsworth one, actually came in on that link that you sent, Becky, at about 300-400 meg. It was quite a large file size. I've actually compressed that myself in order to create the MP4 file that we need. I'm curious to know whether or not you noticed any difference between the file that you know and what you've actually just watched. If I pop it on again,
To begin.
Words. Sonnets. Landscape. Rivers. Sounds. Rhythms.
exploring Grosvenor and counting Wordsworth in his poetry at his.
Right, so I've just had a quick check whilst that was playing. The original file that you sent, Becky, was 949 meg in size, and I actually compressed that down to 152 meg and into an MP4 file, which is what was just playing then. And to me, the quality still looked absolutely fine. I'm just curious to see if any of you noticed a sort of discernible difference at all.
I think the only worry I would have is that with an orchestral piece, you'll lose depth of sound and the depth of range of the sound as well. I think the visuals will probably be fine. I think it's more the high quality of the audio, and that's what they'll be judged on as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. Do we have anything? Do we have a video available to us with some orchestral arrangements or some orchestral music that we could perhaps put a test through to just check on that audio quality?
We could put the Unlocked Voices one up, Karis. Could we? Do we have that? Or a Baroque one? I don't know which. They're shorter. Do you know where they are? I'm not sure I do.
I think we've only got Unlocked Voices. I can't remember where it is. But I think that's longer.
I'm just going to test one other way of playing videos because I'm curious to see. It's a bit of a clunkier way, I suspect, and it's not the ideal way, but you can actually play them through a Google Chrome browser by sharing a screen. If you bear with me just 1 second. Right. At the moment, am I right in saying that all you can see is the 6 of us on the screen as normal? Yeah. Okay. Let's do this. Now, sorry, I was trying to share the screen then for that video. Doesn't look like it came up at any point. No, I didn't think so. 1 second, let's try this again. Chrome tab, test, share audio. Let's try this time, see if this works. No, right. We can sack that one off. That's like the absolute last resort, was to play it through Chrome, but it's clear it's not the best way to do it, because when I tried it yesterday, you do see somebody's screen background unless you're very, very quick with the buttons. The ideal method is to have these videos actually loaded in, ready to go. Makes it much slicker. Did we manage to get hold of another video file?
I've just copied one across to that shared folder link I sent you, James.
Which one did you send, Becky?
It was Unlock Voices Multicam _14. No idea if it's the right one, but it'll be a video.
If not, I was just having a quick look through our YouTube to see a short orchestral thing, and I think the first one I found is there's a 30-second trailer from The Wish, which is short plus orchestral. So if that doesn't work, I can be looking that one out if that helps.
Yeah, might be good to test a couple.
Just right, I'm just getting that file now, Becky. I'll just be a second popping that into StreamYard. Okay. Unlocked Voices Multicam, is that the one? Right, okay, I've got that video file. I'm just popping it into StreamYard now. Any other questions while that's just uploading? Can you think of anything else that we've not covered?
I've got a quick question that might be for Will, which is we're thinking about. We're continuing to think about accessibility for this, and we'll probably come back with some more things at some point. But for any pre-recorded sort of introductions from the hubs or the young people that we're basically loading in as video files like this, will you or can someone else burn in captions sort of to those files so that they're embedded when they're pre-recorded?
Yeah, that's dead easy. Yeah, so as long as it might be a case of the hubs then sending two videos, the main piece and an introduction, and then I'll ingest them both, put them together, and then put captions on the intro, and then send one video to James in MP4.
One thing to mention on that note is when we have the branding that we can pop in and out as as I'm doing on screen now, all these various different overlays. When you play the video using the preferred method, that eliminates everything else. So you're just seeing the video. So we can't have any overlay. We can't have any overlays on top of that video. So on the point of whether on branding per hub, it may be worthwhile if you're putting those two files together into one, is also popping the logo on there if they haven't already branded up their videos themselves.
I mean, well, I don't know. Other people might have a view on this, but I would suggest that you probably don't want branding all the way through the video anyway, especially if they've gone to the effort of doing visuals and that kind of stuff. I think if there's, even if it's relatively subtle up in the corner, I think it's still going to be in the way a little bit. It might be that maybe have one on the intro if one of the young people are going to introduce it. We could get the relevant hub logo in the top corner, but yeah, I don't think I'd run it all the way through. But yeah, that's fine. We could do that.
Yeah, I'd agree. Any branding goes with the intro part, but not during the performance.
Yeah. I think it's a good shout, actually. Yeah, thinking about it. Yeah.
Great. And James, just so you know, I've just uploaded a little video file called The Wish Theatre Foyer Loop. If you want to try that one as well for orchestral sound.
The Wish Theatre Foyer Loop. Okay. Okay.
So is the idea, sorry, while you're doing that, James, Will, Caris, anybody, is the idea that young people from each of the areas introduce their piece?
I think in an ideal world, it'd be quite nice. And I mean, again, this is still up for debate about whether James is the only truly live person who inputs into this. But there is the potential to have other people being live like we've got now. I guess as we've talked about before, the more live people there are, the more potential there is for those live feeds to go wrong. So I thought one way of getting around it and having other voices other than James is to get a little pre-recorded intro, 30 seconds from a hub saying, this is our piece. We decided to look at this. We've worked on it for a number of weeks and we've loved doing it. Hope you enjoy it, and straight into the piece.
I agree. I mean, there is the potential for a couple of representative young people, perhaps from the design subgroup, to come in as live guests alongside James to take some Q&A, for example. But I agree. I think we should minimise the number of live people coming into this, because it could, technically it might be risky, and B, there's then the potential for things to spin out and overrun. And so I would support the idea of pre-recording those introductions as well.
Yeah, it's just I got last workshop with Lincolnshire tomorrow, so I just want to push it with the young people, just remind them that that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, there was the 3 who came from Links to the finale workshop, and they did. I think that was one of the bullet points out of that, is that they thought that they should introduce their own music. So
right.
Hopefully,
if anyone knows who they are, I would be grateful for the names.
It was Hannah.
Oh, Hannah, yeah.
And 2 others. The list is in the finale folder, Jan.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, I've got both of those videos, the Unlocked Voices and the Wish Theatre Foyer. So I'm going to play the Unlocked Voices one.
It seemed endless, only fear of the unknown.
It seemed endless, endless, looking for the unknown.
Now I've let that run. That video ran to the end, and what happened there is that when the video got to the end, it automatically transitioned back into the shot of the 6 of us. And what happened there is that when the video got to the end, it automatically transitioned back into the shot of the 6 of us. Has somebody got their volume up on YouTube?
Sorry, that was me.
There we go. There's a 7-second delay kicking in. Yeah. So at the end of the videos, the beauty there is once we click play on them, there's no need to sort of do a manual transition back to the presenter. When that video file ends, it will just automatically then remove itself and go back to the presenter. Again, that offers the presenter a visual cue that they're back on screen. When they see themselves, they're live effectively. We'll try this other video as well.
Are they compressed, James?
Again, that seemed to, I turned the volume up on my phone for that one and my laptop down, and audio appeared to be coming through nice and clearly. And
James,
anything noticeably wrong with the audio at all? Did anybody else listen to that?
Yeah, it's It's very thin. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I just thought it lost the whole. I thought it was very. There wasn't any kind of substance to it. I don't know.
But I mean, does a computer speaker have that kind of depth? It sounded like a lot of stuff I hear coming out of the computer. Whether it had lost any bottom end or anything like that, if you were listening through a TV with a good speaker or a system, it's hard to say. The computer, it sounded acceptable.
Sorry, Jan.
It sounded okay on my phone, which is why I was trying to mute it, because that sounded fine, but definitely a bit thin on the computer.
Yeah, I think it's lost the bottom. It loses the bottom, because I played that video this morning in the conference, and there was a lot more depth to it, but that's all you lose.
It's a sad sort of fact that we have, take these wonderful instruments that produce wonderful sound acoustically, and in a good recording studio, you'll mic them up with really expensive microphones, put them through expensive processors, and then actually create a compressed MP3 file that's then added to a video, which is then sent through YouTube that somebody's watching on their phone, with speakers that just have no bottom end on them at all. And I think it's one of those. It would be lovely in an ideal world to think that people are going to access YouTube on their smart televisions through a lovely sound bar or something like that. But I think that the reality is that, as we've said in previous conversations, guys, that most of the young people certainly will be watching it through a mobile device of some description. We could recommend putting headphones in, but again, that then takes away the possibility of them sat watching it with mum and dad and brother and sister, which is something else that we want to try and maintain. So
I think if there's a toss up between, well, I don't know. I mean, there might not be a perfect solution where you get the best sound quality and reliability in terms of being able to upload it and have it there ready to go. But I guess if it's the lesser of two evils, isn't it?
I think in terms of compressing video files and what you actually lose audio-wise, you lose discernibly more just because of the quality of speakers on a mobile device than you actually lose in the compression of a video file. Even if you played a smaller file through a really great sound system, you would hear a lot of the nuances and dynamic in the music and the recording. It just, I think the reality is it just doesn't translate as in terms of dynamics and musical nuances through the speakers on an iPhone, no matter how good Apple say it is.
I think for the purposes of a virtual finale, it'll probably be fine, and we can make these pieces available to people subsequently in other ways, so that if they want the full range, full dynamic experience, then it's not like this could be the only opportunity. So I just think we need to think about that as part of the follow-up plan, really, and the way that we make the resources available. But I think there'll be a lot of excitement about just hearing and seeing their pieces in this kind of celebration event, and I don't think people will be too upset if it isn't quite got the dynamic range that they imagined it might. As long as we can share it in its fullest form in another way, I think it's going to be okay. And I think Will's right. I think having everything queued up and ready will make for, given that there's so many elements to this finale, lots of pieces, lots of introductions, lots of talk, Q&A. It seems to me that we need to make it as safe as possible.
Could I suggest two things actually that just popped into my head? Number one is that the video files themselves are prefixed with the number in which they will appear in the running order. So the first video needs to be 1, and then a space, and then the name of that video, 2, and then the name of that video, etc., etc. Because visually, when they're all queued up in here, it would then make it means it's much easier to see, right, it's the second video, it's the third video, rather than just a long name. Because if it's a long name, the file itself only displays about the first 20 characters. And then the second thing relates to just follow-up. I've noticed a lot, I watch a lot of sort of video podcasts on YouTube that are music related, and I noticed that a lot of them encourage you in their graphics and things to watch or to listen with headphones in to get the best sound possible. And maybe it's worthwhile, by way of a follow-up after the event, to say to people, you know, by all means, if you've watched this with your families tonight, we really encourage you to listen back to it again and listen to all the pieces with some headphones in to get the full scope of the music that's been recorded. Now, that could be something that's done actively to encourage people not only to watch it again, which is good to get more people watching it again, but to actually listen back to it in a slightly different way.
I think we always said, didn't we, colleagues, that the respective hub would get the version of their piece so that they could use them for their own sharing events subsequently. So they will be getting the full form version. So that will happen, I think, as a matter of course.
Yeah, we were thinking this morning that the finale recording would stay up for a week afterwards, and then we'd take it down, and then we'd have agreed follow-up points when it becomes available. Different recordings become available again.
I checked something, Karis, earlier on when I did a couple of YouTube tests this afternoon, and it answered a question that we had from last week, which is, number one, I can definitely download a video file from StreamYard at the end of it, and the YouTube video, YouTube automatically records it as well. So once the live stream ends, that video then is saved to the YouTube channel that we're using for the broadcast, which can then be downloaded as a file from your YouTube account.
That's great. Thanks, James.
We've had no input from my dog Mabel this week either, which is
no, my dog's fast asleep. Where's
remarkable.
yours, Stuart? Is yours in his cage?
He's out in the rain at the moment.
Oh, Tess is exhausted. she's been out for big walkies. Look, there she is. Fast asleep. She's been doggy social today.
That looks more comfortable than my bed.
I know. She's got it. That's a luxury, that dog. She's going to the vets later for injections. And why is my screen back to front?
It isn't for us now. It's just your.
Oh, it's like when you're broadcasting on Zoom on the webinar.
Yeah. It's acting as a mirror, so you're seeing your reflection, but we're seeing you the right way around.
Oh, good, because it's weird having the window on the left. It's strange.
James, I'm interested to see, because obviously this is we're not seeing exactly what you're seeing, as you know, as you're the producer. Just try and picture in my mind, kind of on the evening of the finale, there'll be ourselves, kind of backstage staff, and James, other James too, and we'll obviously be kind of having roles, whether that's facilitating a bit of the chat and encouraging people to chat, or giving cues to James and keeping him in the loop. We'll, in terms of what we see, will we still just see this, or will we have a different view? Would we have a view similar to yours in terms of, or is it just need to be you in terms of, because you might be the one who's dragging the clips? We don't need to see that.
Yeah, I suppose the question there is whether or not you can have two people logged into essentially the same admin StreamYard account. I've obviously logged into this StreamYard, set up the meeting or set up the studio, and they sent you a link to join it, which is why I'm in the studio, as it were, as the administrator of this account. There may be a way of two people logging into the same account at once, thus giving more than one person access to everything, to all of the assets. And again, that would be good in terms of having some redundancy built in, because it is quite an intuitive system to use. On my right-hand side at the moment of my screen, I can see the videos that I've uploaded, and literally I just hover over one of the videos, and when I want to play it, I just click it. I don't have to drag it in. I don't have to queue it up or drop down a menu to say play next. I literally just click the thumbnail and it plays it. So it would be good, I think, if there was some admin redundancy, so to speak, so that, you know, if I fell off the radar, somebody else can potentially still click the video buttons, which is easy to do.
I was just thinking about kind of making sure that you know, we're all helping as much as we can do, so that if there is someone that needs to be in, have that access as a backup, and then someone can be suggesting comments to fire across onto the ticker or onto the screen, and if so, kind of what access do they have, or what do they need, and how would we communicate that?
Yeah, we need to look into it. And I suppose the only downside of how we're doing it today is that we've used the StreamYard account, as I said, from another client of mine who's kindly said that we can just use this today for the test. I think what we potentially need to do is if you decide that you do want to go with this platform and you think it's worked to the extent that you need it to, is get an account set up as soon as possible and see how many people can log in at once, essentially as an admin. Sometimes by logging in via two different devices to essentially the same account can cause these types of systems to go a bit funny and can knock them out. So we need to find the best way of doing it so that there's some backup built in, but ultimately retain the best possible scenario of making sure that the output doesn't fail at any point. I'd possibly go on, Will, sorry.
No, I was going to say, I mean, I don't know what other people's thoughts are about it, but it seems to tick a lot of the boxes in terms of kind of simplicity and kind of slickness too. In it, you know, things just seamlessly going from one to the next. I think seems to work quite well.
Yeah, I suppose it's entirely up to you guys to decide now. I'm, you know, if you decide it's not right, that's absolutely fine. But in terms of the list that I had for stuff that we discussed last week to just tick off to see if it works, I think we've as far as I can see, we've ticked them off.
One question I did have, James, was I know you said that it works best on Chrome. Is that just for the admin side of it?
Yeah, that's just for the people who are logging into the StreamYard link.
Yeah, because obviously most people will be going to the YouTube link, so yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. Chrome is purely for anybody accessing the StreamYard link, which will be, you know, a handful of people. Everybody else will effectively be watching it on YouTube.
And I forgot that, and I've been on Edge today, and it's been absolutely fine. So it's worked fine.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a cabled connection in at the moment to my laptop at home, and I've got a pretty stable speed. I can actually see there's a StreamYard's got a system, like a traffic light system built into it. So if you are on Wi-Fi and the signal starts to become unstable for whatever reason, it does actually give you a warning. It says your connection is unstable. Try connected with a cable or something like that. So there is a little bit of a warning system built into StreamYard, but my intention was to not do it from home. I've got access to an office, and in the office there's a dedicated fiber optic line that's an uncontested 100 up, 100 down, and it's the upload speed really that you need for something like this rather than the download speed, which is where sort of domestic connections are not great. Domestic connections are built for download speeds for people to stream TV and things like that. Something like this, you do need a good quality upload connection. So my intention was to actually set up in this office so that I've got, you know, 100 meg upload connection potentially to keep things nice and stable.
Great.
And in an ideal world, obviously, presenter James would have that too, but the likelihood is he'll be doing it from his house. But we can suggests that he plugs in he has a wired connection, but other than that, he should be okay.
Yeah, and most domestic routers now, the outputs on them are gigabit connections. So if you connect something to a cable to the back of your domestic router, you'll get a pretty dedicated signal directly into the device that's plugged into that. Any other devices that are connected to Wi-Fi tend not to interfere with anything connected to a cable because they're isolated connections. I mean, it's always sensible if you're doing something like that to disconnect your devices from Wi-Fi and make sure that, you know, nobody else in the house is streaming a Netflix, you know, movie or something at the same time. But generally speaking, if you plug a cable into the back of even a domestic router, you'll get a pretty solid connection.
What kind of cable do we need then?
It's just a standard internet cable. It's usually branded as an Ethernet.
Oh, Ethernet cable. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, just a standard Ethernet cable will do the job.
But that would just be for James or anyone who's a live thing, for kind of admin side of it.
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah.
So I'm just looking at the hole you put it in. Yeah. Okay. I'm just curious.
But I don't know what people have connected with today, whether or not you guys are on Wi-Fi connections or with cables. But as far as I can see, everyone's connection's been pretty solid today.
Yeah.
I've been on Wi-Fi. It's been fine.
And I'm on Wi-Fi, and my children are watching Disney Plus downstairs. So I know that for a fact because they brought me popcorn. It's a telltale sign that they're watching movies downstairs. So
that's good. Yeah, that's reassuring then.
I'm on Wi-Fi at the moment as well, but I do wonder. I mean, I don't know, but you know, everyone finishes dinner and then goes down to watch something on Netflix and iPlayer, and all at once, all across the country at 7 o'clock on an evening. We're not testing it at that time. So it's just worth bearing in mind.
The difference that would make, I think, everybody, certainly domestically, everyone's connections do tend to drop. I mean, if I do a speed test at home at 11:30 in the morning, I'll get significantly faster speeds than at 7 o'clock in the evening, but it's still pretty reliable. And most of the infrastructure now is built to allow people, everybody's using the internet all the time, basically. So as far as the audience are concerned, accessing this early evening is going to be no different to them finishing tea and putting the telly on or going onto the internet like they would be doing anyway. So I don't see that there'd be I wouldn't have any concerns at all about the audience accessing it. It's just to make sure really that the main output is on a solid connection, and B, the presenter is on a good solid connection, and C, if you've got a backup presenter or somebody on standby who is there to jump in if everything fails and James's connection gets cut, then you need 3 people basically on wired connections. Everybody else would be fine with Wi-Fi.
So I wonder at some point with this or with anything, with other James would need to get fairly au fait with knowing what he'll be able to see and what he can't see and how it would work, and so that he's comfortable when it comes to.
Yeah.
We can do is when we've got an account set up. I think we can set up some tests. To walk him through, but I think he'll be fine with it, to be honest. It's not too dissimilar to working in Zoom from a presenting point of view, which he's been doing anyway. So
absolutely. And there's just a couple of small bits of guidance that we need to give him in terms of not necessarily, as I said last week, making it ultra slick. We haven't got access to the BBC News studio and green screens, but in terms of I've got my laptop raised up at the moment. I've just got it on a little stand, so it's a little bit higher up. So I'm looking straight down the camera rather than looking down at it on the desk. A couple of small things that we would just need to make sure that he's doing in terms of having the laptop raised, having some lighting behind the screen face it, no windows behind him.
What I might look at doing is I've got stuff I can send him. So I've got little lights. Yeah. I've got a light which is that big. So I can
perfect.
I can pop that in the post for him, and if you can put it on he'll have a mic stand. If you can put it on a mic stand, plug it in, and then you can have two of those, two lights like that. And I've got a little lav mic that I can send him that can plug into a computer, like a wireless one.
Oh, anything like that would be great, to just improve the audio quality. I was going to say, if he's got access to something like an interface, like just a simple 1 or 2 channel interface to plug a normal microphone into to just improve the quality of his voice, that would be great. And even, I have to say music stand lights are great, because most music stand lights now are all LED, and they give off nice white LED light, and they've generally got the little clip on them as well that you just attach to the top of the music stand, gooseneck on them. They work brilliantly for this type of thing, because if you get a couple of them and you just position them behind the screen and up and sort of facing you, they provide a great bit of light on somebody's face. It doesn't have to be, complicated. It doesn't have to be pro quality lighting, just a couple of simple little things giving some nice white light.
I think that's it. It's kind of about raising the production quality of what, even if he's doing it from his house, a bit of lighting and a better, decent kind of sound quality from him. And I think that's why, another reason why we kind of limit the amount of live elements that we have, is because you can't do that with everyone. So, and the minute you start putting from a well-lit person with really good sound cut into someone in the bedroom on a laptop mic, then that sounds really bad, even if it's not actually that bad. But in comparison, it always looks that drop in quality. And if you get that a lot,
I think that's a very, very valid point, Will, is that if you've got somebody set up really well with a nice, clear, crisp vocal sound as they're talking, and then you cut to somebody who's talking into an iPad in an echoey kitchen or something like that, you will notice instantly the differentiation between those two levels of audio. So I think what I would recommend is decide who you might like to have on live as a guest, or however you want to build them. So you've got James and maybe, 1 or 2 or 3 other people. And once you've decided on who those people are, it's definitely worth running a sort of a test with them to check their connection, to get them to set up the laptop as they would be setting it up, get them on screen, and then make some actual recommendations to say, right, we just need to move the laptop a little bit. We need to think about lighting. Do you have even a pair of headphones with a cable on them that plugs in? Your phone headphones with a microphone built in often offer a better quality audio than just speaking directly into the device itself. So having a little test just for 10 or 15 minutes with each person that is going to appear at some point during the broadcast is well worth it.
Real.
Is there anything anyone wants to look at again? Because I think we've probably covered most things.
Yeah, I think it's a great platform.
Have a think about the sort of, as I said, I've created these just for today. So what I'm going to show you are the sort of the overlays that I did. I did one for tonight's live stream will begin shortly, one to say we'll resume shortly, and then a thank you for watching. So you can have those, designed however you wanted to, basically. They just have to be done at 16:9 widescreen. You can do them in PowerPoint and export them as a PDF if you wanted to. It can be as simple as that. But have a think. I would definitely have 3. One for beginning shortly, a holding slide saying we will resume shortly. That's in case you get any technical issues, you can just pop that up on screen. And the third one saying thank you for watching.
James, do you know if you can do kind of transparent logos or stuff without a white background?
Yeah, so I'll pop this up on screen. That was created as a 16:9 PDF, and all I've done is then convert it to PNG and take the background out. So it's a transparent background. That's a PNG file that you're looking at the moment. But it was designed as a 16:9, exactly like the others. It's just this one here hasn't had the background removed, so it covers the screen completely.
So you could potentially, if you didn't want it to be so kind of in your face, you could have like an Orchestras Live, almost like a watermark, like more subtle in the top right hand corner, rather than with a white square and
absolutely
a lot more subtle. If you didn't want it so brand heavy.
Yeah, I did actually upload the PNG version of that logo originally. The reason that I've put this one up, which is the JPEG, so it's got the background on it, is it does stand out a bit more. But that's your preference. The PNG wouldn't be as noticeable, and you might want that. You might want it there just floating on top of everything, and it would certainly make it a lot less noticeable from a brand point of view, but would still retain something there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I've covered everything on my list.
Yes,
so
brilliant.
up
Thank
to
you.
you guys now to have a chat and see where you go. And if you do set up a StreamYard, I'd recommend having a play around with it, because it's very, very intuitive to use. I've only been using it for coming up three months now. When I was introduced to it, I did everything on Zoom previously, and the client that I host a podcast for discovered StreamYard, and they moved to StreamYard to do that podcast. And literally, I had to play around with it for a couple of hours, and then I've been recording with it ever since. So it's well worth, if you do set up an account, just get on there and start clicking around, upload some videos, and it's as easy. The screen I'm looking at, there's an upload logo, just a plus icon in a white box, and it's really obvious that means you can upload something. And so you can just choose to add in logos and things and have a play around and see how they look.
James, can I ask quickly, is it possible on StreamYard to record directly in StreamYard without going live?
Yes.
That's a bit of a random question. So you can
No,
create
it is,
content
yeah.
in StreamYard?
Absolutely, you can. That's how I do the podcast that I record. So the
wondered,
podcasts that I
yeah.
do are not broadcast. They're not streamed live. We use it purely as a recording platform. But what it means is that we went to StreamYard because it cut down on post-production. So when we did it on Zoom, we used to then send the video file to a guy at the company I do the podcast for, and then he would then add in logos and bits and pieces, transitions and whatever. And it means now that with StreamYard, I can effectively do all of the production elements in real time.
Yeah.
And then all we've got to do is download the video file.
She's hooked.
This is tea break.
Yeah, it's much better, isn't it?
Yeah, I won't get to it in time before Sarah's recording the next one, but the one after that, Stuart, it might be you. Our StreamYard tea break debut. But yes, it looks great.
Yeah. Yeah, very good.
Excellent. Would you like me to? Obviously, I'll need to end this, but by all means, have a chat. I'm around on Monday, and I know that time is not absolutely of the essence, but it will sort of tick away quickly. So I'll leave you guys to decide how you want to move on from here. The only thing that I would say, and I'm sure you've realised it already, is when you do set up your own StreamYard account, I'll need admin access to that. So I'll need the username and login details for that. Once you've set up a StreamYard account, it's very easy to just add your YouTube details to there. You just literally click add it as a streaming option, and you log into it, or if you're already logged into it on that particular computer, it will then log you in automatically and just ask if you're okay to give permission to StreamYard to use your YouTube account.
And when you set up the live stream, do you have to select the option of how you're going live and is to connect StreamYard into it? So when you set it up, you say, I'm going to go live on this date at this time, and I'm going to use StreamYard.
Yeah, and you
That's
do
how
all
it
the
works.
scheduling in StreamYard, not in YouTube. So you would,
Okay, that's good to know.
so you would schedule the event. You'd create the StreamYard studio. You then go into the studio, and then you choose to schedule or go live, and then you can schedule it via the YouTube option. And then it brings up exactly the same options as you would get if you were doing that in YouTube itself, which
Okay,
is
so you can do
create a
unlisted
title.
then as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You can do unlisted, public, private. You can create a title for the video. You can add all your description elements into there. And then you would create that. When you then go into your YouTube account directly, that's where you'll then be able to generate the link for that video. In fact, I did it via YouTube on my phone because it's actually easier to generate the link because there's the share button on there, and then it copies it straight to your clipboard. So again, I would experiment with that and just become familiar with it. You know, I did it a couple of times today, and then once I'd done a couple of live tests, I just deleted the videos. So it was all fairly straightforward. The last thing about YouTube, Karis, is that I'd never used my own Google account to go live on YouTube before. So I tested it yesterday morning, and it takes 24 hours to activate your account to make it to give you the functionality of live streaming. So if you've never streamed live through a YouTube account before, it's worth doing that sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I'll take a look. We've had our YouTube channel up and running for quite a while, and live does seem to be an option. But won't leave it till the day before.
The first time I clicked, because I'd never clicked the live button before, I think there's a button I think it's called create or upload create. There's a button in the upper right hand corner that says create, and when you click create, it gives you the option of uploading a video file or going live. And when you choose the option to go live, if you've never done that before, it will then actually bring up a prompt box saying that your account needs to be verified first of all, and it takes 24 hours to do that. So I would go through that process fairly soon just to make sure that the account is verified and you have the ability to stream live.
Yeah, I'm in it right now, and it's given me an option to select go live right now or for a later date. So
great. So it means it's likely
pretty set up.
Yeah, it looks like it's verified then.
Great.
So I think we're having another meeting with another workshop with the young people, and obviously I guess we need to just make sure that we're definitely happy with this. But I guess once we've had that meeting with the young people and they got any more feedback from them, I guess it might be a question of then going back and us having another meeting where we can kind of flesh it out a little bit more and give you a bit of an update, James.
Absolutely. No, I'm on standby. I remain flexible. So I'm quite happy for you guys now to again go away, have a chat, decide what the next steps are, and then as and when you need to keep me in the loop with anything, then do so. But no pressure from my end.
Well, thank you very much for showing us. It's been really useful, actually. I think.
Yeah, really helpful
to see it in all of its kind of glory and the transitions and seeing how it would work, and also seeing it from a user's point of view too is quite. It's a lot easier than talking about it, isn't it?
Yeah, makes much more sense to see it.
Yeah, it's a hit.
Yeah, and potentially it could offer not just for this event, but you know, there's potential for wider use, certainly from the pre-recording side of things, to generate stuff that looks really good and the option to have videos in there. And, you know, as a content generator, it's a good tool as well as being able to live stream. And to clarify for Jan and Stuart as well, we've used YouTube today because I think that was the preferred way of doing this event. But you can connect other social media channels as well to StreamYard. So you can connect a Facebook or a Twitter account to it, and if you wanted to, you can broadcast simultaneously to those various different platforms directly from here in future. So
wow,
there are options.
Brilliant. Good.
Lovely. If everybody's happy for now, I'm happy to click the red button in the corner here.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much, James.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, James.
Would it help at all? One final thing. This will have been recorded today in StreamYard. I'll download the video file and then just send it as a Dropbox link, if that's okay. And then you can see what sort of quality the recorded video is directly from StreamYard.
Yeah,
you should be able to drop it in that folder that I shared with you, James.
Oh, of course, yeah, great. I'll pop it into there.
We can all access. So.
Brilliant.
Yeah, no problem at all. I'll do that as soon as I click end broadcast. It'll take a couple of minutes to process, and then I'll pop it straight in there.
Great, brilliant. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Lovely. Have a nice weekend, everybody. You now finish the wine.